6-year-old boy. His mother, his father, siblings, and grandma were near Martinsburg on the Great Wagon Road, their home in Winchester, a memory. Stonewall Jackson's 17,000 men had outmaneuvered and flustered 52,000 Union men up and down the valley for 48 days until they snapped, broke, and ran or scrambled north, a great roiling blue tidal wave, catching the Lovetts and many others up in it. The Lovett family, who were not enslaved, were all stacked atop their horse-drawn wagon, carrying all their possessions. Then Union soldiers took all of that, too, according to the family. The 6-year-old Thomas Lovett, Mama Sarah, Papa William, Grandma Martha, brothers James and John, sisters Etta and Sarah kept going. So, this boy becomes a 59-year-old man who runs a luxurious, famous hotel with a view that made Thomas Jefferson swoon, and his Lovett family staff were serving the President of the United States lamb with mint, Blue Point oysters, buttered Irish potatoes, sweet potatoes, Virginia fried chicken, tomato soup, and Jim's peach version of poor man's pudding. But the president wanted apple pie. The story begins with Grandma Martha Blue, a young girl here in Jefferson County in 1821. She was a freed mulatto, but very much a white-looking woman, and lived at the vast property called Woodburn on Ann Lewis Road in the extreme southeastern corner of Jefferson County. Its owner, Hiram Opie Sr., the fifth-generation Opie here from England, built a house that looked like this, according to architectural historian John C. Allen. And it's still here, but added to. Opie Sr. died in 1839 and willed to Martha 20 acres of land on the Shenandoah River and a large spring there, along with his lots in Winchester, the source being Will Book 9, page 417, at the Jefferson County Courthouse. The Winchester-Potomac Railroad from Harper's Ferry to Winchester meant that Martha could always go see her daughter Sarah, who was raising babies with her husband William Lovett, who likely had their home at her mother's lots, and the 20 acres of prime bottomland along the river in some way had value. When the Virginia militia stormed to Harper's Ferry that night in April 1861, when the arsenal was blown up, it makes sense that Martha left town and joined her daughter and family in Winchester. After the war, most of the Lovetts went back, most likely to those lots in Winchester. But Winchester had little to offer the Lovetts.
I'm going home on the morning train.
So they likely took the Winchester-Potomac Railroad to Harper's Ferry that was, though with no arsenal, rifle works, or Hare's Mill, most of it was livable with an economy, thanks to the presence of the U.S. Army and the Freedmen's Bureau. The big draw, especially in the mind of their father, who was unable to read and write, was education provided for freed persons of color, being offered at Storr Normal School on Camp Hill. The Lovetts arrived and made themselves useful to Storr's president, Nathan Brackett. They managed and took in boarders in upper floors of Lockwood House, controlled by President Brackett. Imagine the pride of Papa Lovett to see diplomas from Storr Normal School go to John, Thomas, and Etta in 1876. And then Etta was hired to be a secretary of the school. In 1880, William and Sarah Lovett worked and lived at Lockwood House with their young adult children, 2 that were teaching school, and the boarders. To accommodate the increasing number of boarders, President Brackett put Thomas Lovett to work running a boarding house at Brackett House. Thomas and Lavinia Lovett bought the seminary lot on Ridge Street February 6, 1888, got the first $3,000 to $4,000 to build the first hilltop house, and it took off. Around the turn of the century, he expanded. He put slate on the hotel's roof. Used 150,000 board feet of lumber from Bill Meyer's mill outside Shepherdstown, built a 40,000-gallon water tank, maintained telegram and telephone service, installed steam heat radiators in the rooms. He'd created an artesian well to get water from below the Potomac riverbed, and added electricity for his nocturnal guests. He borrowed to make it better. The 1902 season was better than any ever before. In the fall of 1904, he opened for a winter season. Fortunately, his borrowings always stipulated he would have fire insurance on his hotel, making it possible to overcome the fire in 1912 and another in 1919. Each rebuild allowed dramatic upgrade. In 1920, he could serve 350 guests, and each had cold running water and hot water for baths. Hilltop was a Cinderella experience from the day it opened in 1888. Visitors came, gasped at the view from the porch, and then heaved sighs of relaxation. Ecstatic newlyweds laugh. 7 whole days of this? Chef Jim Lovett serves new flavors. Lovett's plump your pillows, send your telegram, take your messages, bring in fresh flowers, make worries vanish. And a hot dance band launches happy couples across the pavilion's floor under a moon. The hikes, the bikes, and the boats. There was a reason President Wilson came in 1915 to a hotel run by a highly respected man of color at Harper's Ferry on the day, October 16th, the anniversary of the John Brown raid. In February of 1915, 8 months before the visit, in response to a friend, Wilson viewed Birth of a Nation at the White House. The now infamous 3-hour film was an epic silent drama in which blacks were portrayed by white persons in blackface and based on a book titled The Klansman, written by Thomas Dixon Jr., Wilson's old friend. It contained 3 marquee-type attributed quotations from Wilson's volumes on American history. The filmmakers wanted to be able to say the president endorsed the film to boost sales and overcome protests and banning by political and church leaders. And it worked, achieving great commercial success, and it greatly empowered the renewed Klan. We don't know whether or not Wilson had any prior say to the inclusion of his name and writings in the film. Yes, it is a fact that President Wilson began by replacing the great majority of the educated black employees in the federal government because of his quiet yet stalwart segregationist beliefs. But he wanted certainly to salvage some of his reputation with his progressive supporters. And Woodrow Wilson's widely publicized day at Hilltop certainly enriched Lovett's pocketbook. He gave up the hotel, lock, stock, and barrel in 1926 to a trustee, with debts still to be drawn down. Then the Depression in 3 years and the 1936 flood in Harper's Ferry really diminished prospects. Carl Sandburg, 3-time recipient of the Pulitzer Prize and a room at the Hilltop named for him. He wrote a poem mentioning Hilltop. Landscape including 3 States of Union by Carl Sandburg. The mountains stand up around the main street in Harper's Ferry. Shadows stand around the town and the mist creeps up the flanks of tall rocks. A terrible push of water sometime made a cloven way for their flood here. On the main street, the houses huddled, the walls crouch for cover. And yet at Hilltop House, or up at Jefferson's Rock, there are lookouts. There are long curves of the meeting of the Potomac and the Shenandoah. There is the running home of living fish and silver of the sun. The hotel soldiered on, making the town a National Historic Park, helped in the revival. And Dixie Donald Killam bought it in 1955, bringing back the crowds with art competitions and culture. Pearl S. Buck, who had been honored with a Pulitzer and then the Nobel Prize for Literature, had a big dinner at Hilltop, November 7th, 1971, to begin a fundraising tour for her new foundation.
Well, of course, that is rather a large statement, too, and I think, of course, we women hear a great many things that men say about us, and I suppose many of these things are true. But the fact remains, nevertheless, if I have a criticism of American women, and I must tell you that I think American women are remarkable, and I'm not going to run them down because I think they're really a wonderful, and the extraordinary thing is that European women and women of Asian countries are more or less taking American women as models.
Go to YouTube. Search the 1958 interview between Mike Wallace and Pearl Buck. A wonderful, charming, deft demonstration of what Julia Davis Adams once said to me. I never compete with men. I manage them. What a great, kind, wise person, Pearl Buck said. I always have to speak in human terms. Bill Stanhagen bought Hilltop in 1986. April 22nd, Bill Clinton told his audience at the Point at Harper's Ferry, it was Earth Day, Benton McKay imagined connecting the country all the way from New England to Georgia with a hiking trail, and in the process reconnecting Americans to the wonders of nature. As McKay said, life for 2 weeks on a mountaintop would give renewed perspective to the other 50 weeks down below. Then Al Gore, Bill, their party, and security people went to Hilltop at lunchtime. I cherish the day I, with a tour group from an African American church, were passing around our big round table the porcelain bowl of corn, the bowl of mashed potatoes, the big platter of fried chicken. I see the Morris dancers out front and the two whirling sword dancers with glorious mountains behind, interlacing their blades to the beat. Always the faint echo and thunder of a train saying, life can be better. We insist common cause that the glory of Hilltop will be revivified, a grandeur and spirit that we ourselves never saw or breathed, the grande dame with new life in a faithful body that copies all that was good in the Lovetts, who built it, then built it over again, and built it over again. Now investors with the right vision are building it over again. The Lovett way. And the mischievous, rosy-cheeked young ladies with hats and umbrellas as big as flower-stitched silken pillowcases billowing in the wind, plotting in the high-back rocking chairs on Hilltop's veranda, and who soon will be in a boat flipping water on each other with their oars. The front veranda will indeed absolutely comfort people on it, pealing out their laughter and wedding parties rejoicing. That is the timeless character of Harper's Ferry. And it is back. It is back. And those young ladies are here. Those young ladies never left. They never left. He gave up the hotel, lock, stock, and barrel in 1926 to a trustee, with debts still to be drawn down. Then the Depression in 3 years and the 1936 flood in Harper's Ferry really diminished prospects. Landscape including 3 States of Union by Carl Sandburg, for whom Hilltop House offered the Carl Sandburg guest room in 2006, television and air conditioning, 2 queen or double beds, $125. The poem reads, "The mountains stand up around the main street in Harper's Ferry. Shadows stand around the town, and the mist creeps up the flanks of tall rocks. A terrible push of water sometime made a cloven way for their flood here. On the main street the houses huddle, the walls crouch for cover, and yet at Hilltop House, or up at Jefferson's Rock, there are lookouts. There are long curves of the meeting of the Potomac and the Shenandoah. There is the running home of living fish and silver of the sun." The hotel soldiered on, making the town a National Historic Park, helped in the revival, and Dixie Donald Killam bought it in 1955, bringing back the crowds with art competitions and culture. In 1970, Pearl S. Buck had a dinner at Hilltop House. As a fundraiser to her new foundation. Bill Stanhagen bought it in 1986. In 1996, Bill Clinton and Al Gore came and had lunch at Hilltop after doing some exercise for Earth Day. I cherish the day I, with a tour group from an African American church, were passing around our big round table the porcelain bowl of corn, the bowl of mashed potatoes, the big platter of fried chicken. I see the Morris dancers out front and the 2 whirling sword dancers with glorious mountains behind, interlacing their blades to the beat. Always the faint echo and thunder of a train saying, "Life can be better." We insist, Common Cause, that the glory of Hilltop will be revivified, a grandeur and spirit that we ourselves never saw or breathed, the grande dame with new life in a faithful body that copies all that was good in the Lovitts, who built it, then built it over again, and built it over again. Now investors with the right vision are building it over again. The Lovett way. And the mischievous, rosy cheeks young ladies with hats and umbrellas as big as flower-stitched silken pillowcases billowing in the wind, plotting in the high-back rocking chairs on Hilltop's veranda, and who soon will be in a boat flipping water on each other with their oars. The front veranda will indeed absolutely comfort people on it, pealing out their laughter and wedding parties rejoicing. That is the timeless character of Harper's Ferry. And it is back. It is back. And those young ladies are here. Those young ladies never left. They never left.